Good morning, નમસ્કાર, જય શ્રી કૃષ્ણ, જય જિનેન્દ્ર. સૌથી પહેલા તો 25મી તારીખે મહાવીર જયંતિ છે, એટલે એ મહાવીર જયંતિના સૌને શુભેચ્છાઓ અને મહાવીર જયંતિની વધાઈ. ઇન્ડો અમેરિકન સિનિયર સિટીઝન સેન્ટર ઓફ ન્યુયોર્કનો રજત જયંતિ વર્ષનો એટલે કે 2021ના વર્ષનો આ 32મો કાર્યક્રમ, અને આજે 3 કાર્યક્રમો છે. એટલે કે આજના આવા 3 કાર્યક્રમોને અને ગુરુવારના 2 કાર્યક્રમોને ધ્યાનમાં લઈએ તો આજના કાર્યક્રમો 46મા, 47મો અને 48મો કાર્યક્રમ. આજે આપણે ઝૂમ પ્રોગ્રામ શરૂ કર્યાને 1 વર્ષ થયું. પહેલો પ્રોગ્રામ આપણે 24મી એપ્રિલે કર્યો હતો. આ 1 વર્ષનો જો સર્વૈયો કાઢીએ તો આપણે અત્યાર સુધીમાં કુલ 125 પ્રોગ્રામ કર્યા અને 80 દિવસ આપણે મળ્યા. એટલે કે આમ જોવા જઈએ તો દર 4 દિવસે એક વખત મળ્યા આપણે, અને દર 3જે દિવસે એક કાર્યક્રમ કર્યો એમ કહી શકાય. આપણે માટે આ બહુ ગૌરવની વાત એ રીતે છે કે કદાચ ભાગ્યે જ કોઈ ઓર્ગેનાઇઝેશન એવું હશે કે જે આટલા વૈવિધ્યપૂર્ણ પ્રોગ્રામો સાથે અને નિયમિત રીતે આવી રીતે આવા કાર્યક્રમો કરતી હોય. આપણે આજે જે 3 કાર્યક્રમો માણવાના છે એમાં પણ ખૂબ વિવિધતા છે. પહેલો કાર્યક્રમ ફાઇનાન્સને લગતો છે. આપણામાંથી ઘણા લોકોએ બિટકોઇન વિશે સાંભળ્યું હશે, ક્રિપ્ટો કરન્સી, પણ મોટાભાગના લોકો માટે આ કન્સેપ્ટને સમજવો અઘરો છે. મારા માટે તો છે જ. મેં જ્યારે પ્રયત્ન કર્યો ત્યારે મને કન્ફ્યુઝન વધારે થયું છે, અને આજે એ કન્ફ્યુઝનને દૂર કરવા માટે નૈનેશભાઈ શાહ આપણી સાથે છે અને આપણને ખૂબ સુંદર રીતે સમજાવશે કે ક્રિપ્ટો કરન્સી અને બિટકોઇન એ શું છે. તો એમના પ્રવચન પછી એક બહુ જ સુંદર સંગીતનો પ્રોગ્રામ, અને એ સંગીતનો પ્રોગ્રામ છે તન્મયી મહાપાત્રનો, અને એ ખૂબ જ સુરીલા અવાજમાં આપણને બોલિવૂડનું સંગીત સંભળાવશે. અને મહાવીર જયંતિના ઉપલક્ષમાં આજે આપણે એક ખાસ પ્રોગ્રામ સ્તવનોનો રાખ્યો છે, જે રમેશભાઈ લાખાણી અને એમના ગ્રુપ દ્વારા આપણને સ્તવનો અને થોડુંક પ્રવચન એનો લાભ આપશે. તો આજે આપણે એઝ યુઝ્યુઅલ શરૂઆત કરીશું પ્રાર્થનાથી. પ્રાર્થના પછી આજે 3 પ્રોગ્રામ કયા એમ ક્રિપ્ટો કરન્સીનો પ્રોગ્રામ, બોલિવૂડ સંગીતનો પ્રોગ્રામ ને છેલ્લે ભક્તિ સંગીતનો કાર્યક્રમ, એવા 3 કાર્યક્રમો માણીશું. વચ્ચે વચ્ચે વિશેષ માહિતી મેળવીશું. આજના જે બોલિવૂડનો સંગીતનો કાર્યક્રમ છે એ સ્પોન્સર કર્યો છે જયંતિભાઈ શાહ, કે જે જયંતિભાઈ બરાબર 22 એપ્રિલ 1971 ને દિવસે એમને અમેરિકાની ધરતી ઉપર પગ મૂક્યો હતો, અને આજે એમને પૂરા 50 વર્ષ થાય છે. એટલે એ ખુશીમાં એમને આજનો પ્રોગ્રામ સ્પોન્સર કર્યો છે. આજની પ્રાર્થના કરાવવા માટે હું રિક્વેસ્ટ કરું પૂર્ણિમાબેન અને સુદર્શનભાઈ ભટ્ટને કે આજની પ્રાર્થના કરાવે. પૂર્ણિમાબેન અને સુદર્શનભાઈ.
સુદર્શનભાઈ અનમ્યુટ કરજો તમારું.
ઓકે. શ્રી મુકુંદભાઈ તથા પંકજભાઈ, જીતુભાઈ તથા જગદીશભાઈ વગેરેનો તથા અન્ય મેમ્બરોનો આભાર માનું છું. અમને આજે આ પ્રાર્થના ગાવાનો ચાન્સ આપ્યો. જય શ્રી કૃષ્ણ.
જય શ્રી કૃષ્ણ. હે પ્રભુ આનંદ દાતા ज्ञान हमको दीजिए शीघ्र दीजिए हे प्रभु आनंद दाता लीजिए हमको शरण में, हम सदाचारी बने लीजिए हमको शरण में हम सदा जारी बन।
એમને વાઈફાઈ નો પ્રોબ્લેમ લાગે છે.
ફ્રીઝ થઈ જાય છે. પંકજ તમે જોડે ગઈ શકો કે
नहीं? हे प्रभु आनंद दाता, प्रेम से हम गुरुजनों की नित्य ही सेवा करें। प्रेम से हम गुरुजनों की नित्य ही सेवा करें। सत्य बोले झूठ त्यागे, मेल आपस में करे। हे प्रभु आनंद दाता, निंदा किसी की हम किसी से भूल कर भी ना करे। निंदा किसी की हम किसी से भूल कर भी ना करे। दिव्य जीवन हो हमारा, तेरा यश गाया करे। हे प्रभु आनंद दाता, हे प्रभु आनंद दाता, हे प्रभु आनंद दाता। जय श्री कृष्ण. सर्वने जय श्री कृष्ण.
થેન્ક યુ પૂર્ણિમાબેન અને સુદર્શનભાઈ. હવે મહાવીર જયંતિના ઉપલક્ષમાં આજે આપણે રિક્વેસ્ટ કરીશું રમેશભાઈ લાખાણીને કે આજે એક નવકાર મંત્રથી પણ આજના કાર્યક્રમની શરૂઆત કરીએ. રમેશભાઈ લાખાણી.
જય જીનેન્દ્ર. જૈન સિનિયર સિટીઝન ગ્રુપ વતી આપ સૌનો આભાર. અને આજે તમે ઓપોર્ચ્યુનિટી આપી. તો હે માનવી, તું આ જન્મ લીધો છે, તને જે જન્મ આપ્યો છે, જે ધર્મને તું માને છે, દરેક ધર્મમાં જેમ ભાગવત ગીતા હોય છે, ગીતા હોય છે, એમાં દરેકના હોય છે પોતાના હોય છે. તો એ જો જૈન ધર્મમાં નવકાર એ સૌથી મોટામાં મોટો અને અદ્ભુત કહેવાય. તો આજે પ્રાર્થના કરીએ કે હે ભગવાન, જે તે મને આપ્યું છે એ હું યાદ કરી નવકાર ગણું. તો કે ઓમ નમો અરિહંતાણમ મંત્ર સદા સમરે તો જા આવ્યો છે તો આ સંસારે. સફળ જન્મ તો કરતો જા, હું પદની ગ્રંથિને છોડી માયા કેરા ગઢને ભેદી. ધન દીધું જો ધરણી ધરે તો કામ પ્રભુ ના કરતો જા આવ્યો છે આ સંસારે. ઓમ નમો અરિહંતાણમ, ઓમ નમો સિદ્ધાણમ, ઓમ નમો આયરિયાણ, ઓમ નમો આયરિયાણમ, નમો લયે સૌ સાહોણમ, એસો પંચનમોકારો સૌ પાવપણાસણો. મંગલાણમ ચ સૌવે સિંહ. Padmam Havai Mangalam. Padmam Havai Mangalam. Padmam Havai Mangalam. Jai Jinendra.
થેન્ક યુ રમેશભાઈ. હવે આ પ્રોગ્રામની શરૂઆત આપણે આપણા પ્રમુખ શ્રી મુકુંદભાઈ મહેતાના સ્વાગત ઉદ્બોધનથી કરીશું. મુકુંદભાઈ મહેતા.
Thank you, Pankaj Bhai, and thank you, Purnima Bain and Sudarshan Bhai, for a pretty prayer. And thank you also, Ramesh Bhai, very pretty and a very good voice of Navkar Mantra. So thanks a lot. Good morning, friends, and welcome to Indo-American Senior Citizen Center of New York's weekly Thursday meeting. I hope all of you are doing fine. In the past, we had so many subjects discussed on this platform, and financial matter was not an exception. Today, particularly, we have a discussion on the currency, which is a medium of exchange. You might have heard all by this time what is a Bitcoin, but we must be having just a peripheral knowledge of the subject, but not the details about it as to what it is. You may recall that it was introduced sometime in 2009 with a zero value, when it became the $100 and then became $200, and today it has skyrocketed to about $54,000 per 1 unit of Bitcoin. Nainesh Shah is an expert on the subject of Bitcoin, and he will discuss about the medium of exchange that was used in the trade right from the pre-civilization period, and it will be of a real interest to us. Just to clarify one thing, that Nainesh Bhai is explaining all this just for our general knowledge. Do not think that he has come here to promote his business. So just to make a note of it. And we will have a questions and answer at the end of this presentation. Nainesh Bhai, just to give you a little bit of profile, he is a chartered financial analyst, he is a partner, and he grew up in Mumbai, India. He holds an MBA in finance from Dalhousie University, Canada, and a bachelor in engineering from MS University, India. A keen interest in money management led him to take a position in New York City in 1994 with Share Asset Management, which merged with Roosevelt Investment in 2002. As a portfolio manager and senior investment committee member at the new company, he has acted as liaison between the investment, marketing, and sales teams, and communicated portfolio designs and options to outside advisors and investors. His contributions help grow the assets under management from 1 billion, be like a boy, from 1 billion to 6 billion at its peak. As a technology thought leader, he has generated fintech motives such as mobile wallets and robo-advising. Two of his career highlights are the subscription-based Apple valuation, which has become the gold standard on Wall Street, and a unique sum of the parts model for Amazon, which added a deeper level to its valuation analysis. His core principle is, if you manage for returns, you increase the risk. But if you manage the risk, you increase the returns. Very good advice. That's a really good credo. This he applied in the 2000 dot-com bust. A chartered financial analyst, Nainesh is also a member of the CFA Society of New York. He has presented to several hundred audiences of financial advisors and nonprofits on macroeconomic conditions, capital markets, portfolio construction, and risk management. Barron and Business Week, which are the business magazines, as we all know. So Barron and Business Week have quoted his insights into some of these topics. Nainesh coaches people in financial need pro bono. Behavioral finance and artificial intelligence are among his professional interests. His personal interests include practicing meditation, reading, reading autobiographies and running marathons. His wife is the program coordinator for 2 non-profit senior centers, and their son and daughter are in college. This is just a brief introduction of Nainesh Bhai, and his wife, as you all know, is Kavita Shah, who has appeared on our screen a few times, and she was singing along with Nainesh Bhai's mother some time back. So Nainesh Bhai, welcome. Question answer will follow after his presentation. So Nainesh Bhai, this is all yours.
Thank you, Mukund Bhai, and thank you, Indo-American Center, Senior Center. I really appreciate this time for me to share information about currency, particularly Bitcoin. Let me share my screen. That way I can start. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Good. So આપણે બધા ગુજરાતી રહ્યા અને બે વસ્તુ ઘણું જ ક્રિટિકલ છે એઝ એ ગુજરાતી, ટ્રેડ અને મની. અને મની which also means currency. So મને થયું કે આજે હું definitely talk more about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but why not go back into long history and see how money got created, how currency got created, and પછી to bring it today and hopefully understand what is expected for future. And so I want to talk about how the GDP has changed over time for India and others. So the whole topic here is starting from barter system, how we got to Bitcoin, and then explain in detail what Bitcoin is about and how you can participate. So let's begin. Hajaro varas pehla, there was nothing. People didn't trading natu thatu etlu badu, પણ અને small tribe hoy, I'm talking about 10-15,000 years ago. The only thing એ વખતે ચાલતું હતું કે ભાઈ લોકો એકબીજાની સાથે કંઈ ખાવાનું મળ્યું હોય, મીટ મળ્યું હોય તો એકબીજાની સાથે એક્સચેન્જ કરે. અને this is hunter gatherers time. અને આ બધું આપણને જાણકારી મળે છે from anthropology. There are a lot of people who has understood how human society has evolved. At that time, પથ્થર, શાર્પન પથ્થર લોકો એક્સચેન્જ કરતા હતા. ટ્રાવેલ કંઈ બહુ નહોતું, અને મોસ્ટલી it was about surviving from outside threats. અને પછી આપણે as we come towards closer to 10,000 years, 8,000 years BC, ત્યારે આપણે હિસ્ટ્રીમાં એવું દેખાય છે કે પહેલો લોંગ ડિસ્ટન્સ ટ્રેડ થયો હોય. અને એ વખતે કરન્સી તો હતી નહીં, પણ લોકો લાવામાંથી જે પથરા નીકળ્યા હોય, શાઇની પથરા હોય, એનું ટ્રેડિંગ કરતા હતા. એટલે that became kind of mode of currency. અને એનો ઉપયોગ કટિંગ ટૂલ તરીકે વાપરતા હતા. And Ajin Pon, around that time, still it was a tribal status. Thodu agriculture chalu thayu tu, and that's when we start seeing concept of civilization and settlement and some conversation about currency as a mode of exchange. Kai pon surplus food hoy to બધું barter system થી ચાલતું હતું. Live ગાય, બકરી, other animals, એ બધાનો ઉપયોગ થતો હતો as exchange. And some rare stone that we see in historical literature that was exchanged in terms of as a mode of currency. પછી around 8,000 year there are a lot of amazing innovation that human has come up with. But I think one of the most important innovation is will. And as you can see in this picture, will ne લીધે ઘણું બધું ટ્રેડિંગ વધવા લાગ્યું. ઘોડાનો ઉપયોગ કરીને આપણે આપણા માઇથોલોજીમાં ને બધામાં જોઈએ છે કે રથનો ઉપયોગ થતો હતો. રથને લીધે ડિસ્ટન્સ વધારે કાપવાનું પોસિબલ થયું. અને સિવિલાઇઝેશન સ્ટેબિલાઇઝ થયું. કોપરનો ઉપયોગ થતો હતો એઝ અ કરન્સી. આપણે શેલ કાવરલ નો ઉપયોગ થતો હતો. પોટરી બનાવવાનું ચાલુ થયું એ વખતે અરાઉન્ડ ધેટ ટાઈમ ફ્રેમ. અને પોટરીમાં that started becoming kind of a way to use as a mode of trading. Around 3000 BC to 1000 BC, that's when really trading started. So Mid East mathi, Central Asia mathi, even some part of Eastern Europe mathi trading ચાલુ થયું. અને આ પિક્ચરમાં તમે as you can see કે ઊંટને લઈને ઊંટના પર બધું વસ્તુઓ લોડ કરીને બધા ડિસ્ટન્સ ચાલતા હતા. એ વખતે ઇન્ડિયા સાથે ટ્રેડિંગ સારું ચાલવા લાગ્યું ફ્રોમ મિડ ઇસ્ટ. અને અરાઉન્ડ ધેટ ટાઈમ ફ્રેમ ગોલ્ડ બીકેમ કરન્સી. સો આજની તારીખમાં પણ આપણે ગોલ્ડને મહત્વ આપીએ છીએ. અને really it has lasted many centuries as a value of currency. Ajin પણ એ વખતે it wasn't really, that concept of currency wasn't very clear. Fixed weight metal નો concept ચાલુ થયો એટલે જે આપણે પૈસા કહીએ, coin કહીએ તે. બાર્ટર સિસ્ટમ ચાલતી હતી, સોલ્ટનો ઉપયોગ થતો હતો. તો ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ આવું કારવાન નીકળતું હોય તો એ લોકો કશું સેલ કરે, કાં તો સોલ્ટ લે કાં તો બીજી વસ્તુ લે, અને પછી then they use that to sell somewhere else. અને પણ ધીરે ધીરે બધા human idea of trading started becoming very clearer as time progressed. And now we come to 1000 BC to 400 BC. This is really, if you look at the anthropological literature, તમને જોવા મળે. અહીંયા લેફ્ટ હેન્ડ સાઈડના બોટમ લેફ્ટમાં તમે પિક્ચરમાં જોઈ શકો છો કે કોઈન, this is 1000 BC time frame coins started becoming visible. Along with land routes, sea route પણ ચાલુ થઈ ગયો. અને although sea route પર ટ્રેડિંગ થતું હતું પહેલા, પણ this became more common, particularly with India. And પછી this period is kind of called as a Bronze Age. And you can see કે metalનો use વધારે થવા લાગ્યો. અને metal, once you started seeing that, you started seeing actual concept of coin becoming more reality. Now we come to really kind of a golden age for India. This is when India was at kind of peak of its civilization in terms of compared to others. And if you try and triangulate the GDP of world at that time, India had a 32% of GDP of the total world population. આ બધા ચાર પિક્ચર મેં જે મૂક્યા છે અહીંયા તે જુદી જુદી ટાઈપના કોઈન છે. Not all are from India, but some of them are from India. For example, if you look at the bottom left, if you look at the bottom right, you can see that these are the coin that has symbols now, that has either it's an emperor or Buddha છે એકમાં. અને રૂપિયાનો idea kind of, the word rupiah came from અપભ્રંશ અને સંધિ છોડીએ તો રૂપ અને યા તો દેખાવ, અને એના પર રૂપિયાનો વર્ડ આવ્યો છે. અને હવે આ ટાઈમે ટ્રેડિંગ વોઝ ફૂલ ફ્લેજ. ઇન્ડિયા really started exporting. India had a lot of gold. They had a concept of spices that started getting exported. Chanakya wrote his Arthashastra around this time. Chandragupta Maurya time from and India was booming in terms of trading with other countries. આપણે બધા સિલ્ક રોડનું સાંભળ્યું છે. China started trading with the rest of the world, and as our picture માં તમને દેખાય છે, those are the trade routes going back to 500 CE to 1500 CE. Europe, Persia, Arabia, Egypt, Somalia, Indonesia, બધા જ લોકો હવે ટ્રેડિંગ કરવા લાગ્યા હતા around this time frame. Not only on land but on the ocean. અને ઘણી બધી વસ્તુ ટ્રેડ થતી હતી. Currency concept of money became very clearer. Note, paper money was an idea that was created in China, and it started becoming common around the world. The concept of bank started becoming more accepted. Europe ma bank no concept ચાલુ થયો તે વખતે. અને now you can easily see that trading was so normal for human society. And when we talk about trading, currency, money, stock exchange always comes into picture. Stock exchange ma 1600 સાલમાં એમ્સ્ટરડમમાં પહેલી વાર સ્ટોક એક્સચેન્જનો કાઇન્ડ ઓફ આઈડિયા થયો હતો. અને at that time trading company બધી stock exchange through આવતી હતી. Even East India Company જે ઇન્ડિયા આવી હતી around beginning of 1600s, it was like a publicly owned company. અને પછી 200 વર્ષ 250 વર્ષ પછી Queen of England took over that company. So the private company concept started coming around that time. અત્યારે તો આપણે બધા લોકો સ્ટોકની વાત કરીએ છીએ, પણ that was originally started in Amsterdam and then England and the rest of the world. બીજું એ જ વખતે જુદી જુદી કરન્સીના ફોટા મેં અહીંયા એડ કર્યા છે, પણ આપણે લોકો બધા જ મેમરીમાં છે. રિયાલિટીમાં તો હવે બહુ ઓછું થઈ ગયું છે. પણ આના, એક આનો, બે આના, 4 આના, 8 આના, the coins started that were introduced in India around that time. અને આપણે જીડીપીની જે હું વાત કરતો હતો, જીડીપીનો growth, Indian GDP as a part of the world GDP, for most of our life or India's life, GDP was 30+% of the world for India. પણ પછી મેં કીધું ને તેમ ઈસ્ટ ઇન્ડિયા કંપની ઇન્ડિયામાં આવી. Could be two reasons. One is કે ભાઈ rest of the world started developing, but also we got suppressed as a country by outsiders, and we started losing our GDP and our ability to produce stuff. So around that time frame, around 1500 to 1800, our GDP moved from 25% to 14%. And અહીંયા મેં એક picture મૂક્યું છે Bombay Stock Exchange. What I want to do is I want to just give you perspective of what has happened in terms of currency, trade, and the concept of money. And then I'll go into Bitcoin. That will kind of bring everything together. The Bombay Stock Exchange was the first stock exchange in Asia, started around middle 1800s. And it's been ever since been really a driver of stocks and investments in India. And ત્યારે જ idea of US started becoming more like a country with more power. And if you can see on the right hand side na chart ma, ke this is the 2000-year chart in terms of GDP as of the world. તમે ઓરેન્જ લાઈન જુઓ તો લાગે જુઓ કે ભાઈ 30% પ્લસ આપણું ઇન્ડિયાનું GDP હતું એ વખતે, and it started declining as time progressed, but it started really bottomed out in 1900s. પણ જ્યારે the sharp decline came when Britishers came to India, and પછી you can see the US GDP growth. And there is a reason why I put 1971 as a time frame from 1800 to 1971. Because 1971 ma gold standard kadi America hai. So the idea for all these years was कि भाई currency छे, but currency is backed by something. So America ma dollar was backed by gold. So every dollar equivalent value was stored in gold. Pachi around 1971 ma gold standard kadi when everything became a fiat currency, meaning it's the government is saying that they will make good on the currency that they have. And this is very relevant to what's going on with the cryptocurrency. Currency, if you think about gold, for example, it's the perception. તમારી માન્યતા અને આજુબાજુ તમારી આજુબાજુ બધાની માન્યતા છે કે ગોલ્ડની વેલ્યુ છે. ગોલ્ડની વેલ્યુ is just about industrial use. કે થોડો ઘણો industrial use છે, પણ there is no real value. Let me introduce the idea about investment and currency here. Investment is something that gives you some return. So if તમે bond buy કરો તો તમને interest મળે, તમે stock buy કરો તો તમને most of the time dividend મળે, તમે real estate buy કરો તો તમને rent મળે. That's investment. On the other hand, things like gold or dollar or Indian rupees, there is nothing, you don't get any return for just that particular item, but everybody believes there is a value, and so there is a value. So the reality and perception kind of comes together, and that's why when in 1971 there was no gold supporting the currencies, particularly dollar, and that kind of was a break. The other thing that happened around 1971 is all this concept of digitization. So credit card introduced here, it became more popular. So now you can see कि भाई તમારા પૈસા તમે નોકરી કરતા હો ને પૈસા કમાઓ તો ચેક સીધો બેંક મની બેંકમાં સીધા જાય, તમે વાપરો તો ક્રેડિટ કાર્ડ પર વાપરો. So you are not really looking at any currency. You can pretty much live your life without using cash. So the idea of having currency or a coin or something in your hand is slowly was going away after 71 and closer to, of course, it's gone away now, but closer to 2008. So if you can see, 2008 is another critical juncture from my perspective, because that's when the cryptocurrency idea got introduced. So 2008, if you remember, was the big financial crisis. After real estate no problem thelo, housing market crash thelu, financial company badi taklif ma avi thi rather, and this is my belief, but every crisis something new comes out, and in 2008 ma there was this gentleman, we know his name. His name is Santoshi નામ નથી એનું, actually this is his alias, એનું ઉપનામ છે, એનું Santoshi Nakamoto. We don't know who he is, we don't know where he is from, seems, and so nobody knows his real personality. He wrote a paper back in 2008 something about Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. That was the beginning of the concept of Bitcoin. And so now we are getting into the concept of Bitcoin and blockchain. Let me introduce blockchain here. So Bitcoin is like an application, and a blockchain is the underlying technology. Blockchain means that every transaction that happens is like a block. And chain hoy, those blocks get connected. The beauty with blockchain is normally when two parties don't know each other, they need a middleman. So તમે માની લો કે તમારે ઘર બાય કરવું હોય. Now you are the buyer, there's a seller, but you don't know each other. So you can't trust each other. And you have middlemen, a broker, real estate broker. Real estate broker becomes your trust factor. What blockchain does is takes that away. Because every transaction is transparent and it's connected, it's part of the block, you don't need a middleman. And that is the beauty of the whole concept of blockchain. So now, if you right inside na chart ma tame juo ke na કેટલા ઉપયોગ છે. You can think about તમે stock buy કરો તો અત્યારે broker through buy કરવો પડે, but that can go away. If you look at contracts, some people don't know whether they can trust a contract, so they need some middle party to do it. તમારે પૈસા transfer કરવા હોય from say here to India, you need middlemen. All of that can go away if with this blockchain technology. So there is an underlying technology called blockchain. Now, on top of it, you can create whatever you want to create. And what Santoshi Nakamoto introduced was the idea of currency on top of blockchain. And that currency was called Bitcoin. So that's the Bitcoin. Now, the Bitcoin is not the only currency, cryptocurrency using blockchain. Everything uses blockchain, but there are other currencies which are similar to Bitcoin. There is Ethereum, there is XRP, and I'll go into that a little bit more. But Bitcoin, there is a lot of beauty with Bitcoin. First of all, it's decentralized. So if you compare with US currency કેટલી પ્રિન્ટ કરવી, કેટલી સર્ક્યુલેશનમાં રાખવી, કેવી રીતે એને મેનેજ કરવી, કોણ વાપરી શકે, કેવી રીતના વાપરી શકે, that's all controlled. Federal Reserve and Treasury, US Treasury decides that. Whereas Bitcoin is decentralized, meaning there's nobody has a control. Everything is just out there, and its transactions are anonymous. Once a transaction is incurred, you can't undo it, and it's trackable, and everything is authenticated. Other component of Bitcoin is when this paper that was written by Santoshi, he predefined how many Bitcoins will be introduced in the system. I'm talking about just Bitcoin, but some of similar ideas are in other cryptocurrency, not as clear, but Bitcoin is one of the largest cryptocurrencies, so I'm focusing on that, and it's probably one of the most authentic at that time. So 21 million Bitcoin is the upper limit. There is no more Bitcoin that will be introduced after that. The way to create Bitcoin is, in the beginning, it was mining. What is mining? there are algorithm that computer solves, and if a computer solves that algorithm, then it receives a Bitcoin. That's called mining. So in the beginning, જ્યારે શરૂઆતમાં 2008 ની આજુબાજુ, algorithms was easier to solve, but by design, the difficulty of solving the algorithm increases. So now it's really, really hard to solve algorithm. That's why you need a lot of computing power. So ઘણી વાર તમે સાંભળતા હશો કે ચાઇનામાં ઘણો બધો પાવર કન્ઝમ્પશન થઈ ગયો ને કંઈક માઇન બંધ થઈ ગઈ, કમ્પ્યુટર સિસ્ટમ બંધ થઈ ગઈ ને બિટકોઈનનો ભાવ વધઘટ થઈ ગયો. અથવા કે Bitcoin, or if you put all the computers that run, that mines Bitcoin, it consumes more than power consumed by some of the European countries. So that's true. It needs a lot of power now to solve the algorithm to get the Bitcoin. Once all 21 million coins get introduced, there is no more coins to be introduced. So now there will be just a minor cost to create the blockchain, which is for the Bitcoin. The other thing which is quite different than most of the real currency that we know is Bitcoin is digital, right? So it can be divided into many parts. And if you look at this chart on the right hand side bottom, Bitcoin, થોડો જૂનો ચાર્ટ છે, પણ the most important point I wanted to make was Bitcoin can be divided into decibyte, centibyte, millibit, microbit, Santoshi. Santoshi is 1/1,000,000th, actually 1 billionth of a Bitcoin. So imagine Bitcoin no ભાવ આજે 55,000 છે. હવે કાલે 5 વર્ષ પછી 10 વર્ષ પછી માની લો મિલિયન થઈ ગયો. So you don't have to think about, how can I buy a Bitcoin? You can buy fractions, a minute fraction of a Bitcoin in future. We are not there yet because we don't need to think about Santoshi yet. And it's not a currency transaction just yet. So here is a bunch of different cryptocurrency I wanted to mention. So the largest currency, and this is, if you look at the middle column, it shows thodi screen. Nainesh, let me see if I can make the screen bigger. So if you see the fifth column, so પહેલી column Bitcoin, Ethereum લખ્યું છે, અને fifth column amount લખી છે. That's more current. 1 trillion value છે Bitcoin ની આજની તારીખમાં. Total Bitcoin available in the market. Ethereum ની value about 300 million છે, and then you can see other currencies. So it has become more real in terms of it's not just going to go away, but there are a lot of questions and issues that needs to be resolved. So for example, government એવું decide કરે, like US government and a lot of other government, કે we will not let cryptocurrency or Bitcoin transaction happen, then it's an issue. The other thing is, how can Bitcoin be used in more common transaction? કારણ કે એ હજી થતું નથી. અને there are a lot of open question. અને કઈ currency will become more relevant, more significant, and how one should go about buying and selling. So what I really did here today is introduce the idea of trade, money, and currency being the most important idea, how it flew through the history, and where we are today in terms of the currency, cryptocurrency, and then the question that we have to answer as a society is, are we willing to use this as a way of currency to transact? And if not, what is the value of Bitcoin? There is definitely significant value of blockchain. હું એક્ઝામ્પલ આપું બ્લોકચેનનો. આપણે ઘણીવાર વોર ઝોનમાં લોકોને પૈસા ખાવાનું ન હોય. So World Food Organization introduced the idea of giving people food credit, but all through blockchain. Normally, koine credit api hoy to it takes months to go through the whole process because you need so many middlemen. But with help of blockchain, directly grocery store can take money out of World Bank without anybody involved, and the cost goes down significantly. So blockchain is here to stay, and cryptocurrency is a open-ended question about what will happen in future. Let me stop here and see if anybody has a question. I can definitely talk about a lot of detail on how cryptocurrency works and what are the different aspects of it that needs to be thought about.
નૈનેશ ભાઈ તમારો શેર સ્ક્રીન ઓફ કરી દઉં તો.
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
કોઈને પણ સવાલ હોય તો હાથ ઊંચો રાખજો. We will bring you on the screen.
નવીનભાઈ ને છે 1 મિનિટ. નવીનભાઈ અનમ્યુટ કરજો.
Very nice information. First time આટલી બધું details માં ખબર પડી. હવે આને buy કરવો હોય તો how we can buy this? And where we have to go?
સારો ક્વેશ્ચન છે. એક્સચેન્જ હોય છે. જે લોકો તમે ડોલર આપો ને તમને coin ape, but digital. So there are one idea that I didn't introduce, which I can talk a bit later, is private key and public key. I'll talk about it a bit later. So coin na cryptocurrency na exchange hoy che. One of the largest exchanges, a company called Coinbase, but that's not the only exchange. There are other exchanges. What you want to be careful about is you want to deal with a reputable company, and you want to deal with a decent sized company. You don't want fly by night, somebody who can take money and just vanish. But Coinbase is one, Bianca is one. There are a bunch of others, and I can always send you names. One thing that you have to be careful about is the cost of buying. તો આપણે જ્યારે અહીંયાથી ઇન્ડિયા રૂપિયા મોકલીએ ટ્રાન્સફર કરીએ તો there is a cost involved, right? So $1000 ટ્રાન્સફર કરતા હોય તો બેંકવાળા તમને $10 એમ જ લઈ લે for transaction fee. Same way, cryptocurrency exchanges charge fee to buy cryptocurrency, and the fee can be 1%, 2%, or it can be less depending on the exchange and depending on the size of the transaction. So તમારે account open કરાવવું પડે one of this exchange માં. Most of the time they ask for to link your bank with them, and then you can buy currency. પછી એક wallet હોય, તે wallet માં તમારી currency રહે. You have a choice. You can create a digital wallet which stays with the exchange, or you can print out the physical wallet, and that you can keep. But one of the critical factor with cryptocurrency is, so હું જે idea કહેતો ને private key and public key. Think of this as આપણે સેફ હોય, બેંકનું સેફ હોય તો તમારી પાસે એક કી હોય અને બેંકના મેનેજર પાસે એક કી હોય. તો તમે જ્યારે જાઓ ત્યારે બેંકનું મેનેજર તમારી સાથે અંદર આવે સેફમાં, તમારી કી નાખે ને એની કી નાખે. તો his key is a public key and your key is a private key. So your key works just for your safe. His key works for all the safe. Similar idea, not exactly same, but public key everybody can see. So say your public key, and when I say key, it's like a number of digits. Public key is probably 64 digits. And every public key has an attached number of Bitcoin, for example. So everybody knows that public key has, say, 1 Bitcoin, but nobody knows who owns that public key. And say if you have a public key, you also have a private key. When you have a private key, you can use that to transact. And so you want to make sure, okay, if you print out a private key, you don't give it to anybody. Otherwise, once you give it to somebody, it can go. And that has happened. A lot of people either and you probably heard, 100 million Bitcoin હતા અને private key ખોવાઈ ગઈ. Once you lose private key, that's it. That's gone. But yes, going back to your question, there are good exchanges that you can buy cryptocurrency through.
Thank you, Nainesh bhai. Thank you very much.
જે algorithm create થાય છે, who creates the algorithm? And the person who creates the
બધું
algorithm,
પહેલેથી
can you not solve the algorithm?
It's all defined in that paper. That paper I mentioned, you can go and Google it, Santoshi blockchain Bitcoin paper. And algorithm need difficulty keeps increasing as time progresses, and it can be made harder, or it can made or it's a predefined રીતે ચાલ્યા કરે. So the idea was by 2024 or something કે બધા Bitcoin mine થઈ જાય. એ રીતનું એ લોકોનું definition હતી algorithmની. અને it's going to be something similar. That's how it's going to play out. So yeah, algorithms are so complicated that you need a lot of computing power to mine a Bitcoin. And જેમ time progress થયો તેમ it became harder and harder. But it can be solved, but you need a lot of computing power. What people think that new type of computers like quantum computing or something similar, that will make it easier. પણ હજી આપણી પાસે આવ્યા નથી quantum computers.
Yes, Satish bhai.
એમનો ઓડિયો નથી.
સતીશ ભાઈ તમારો અવાજ નથી.
હા, હવે થશે.
ના, નહીં થાય.
એમને કોઈક
ચાલો ત્યાં સુધી એમનો વારો લઈ લો.
કિશનભાઈ બોલો.
Jai Shri Krishna, Nainesh bhai, thank you very much for the information. I have just one couple of questions. If you want to just nutshell explain the difference between Bitcoin and cryptocurrency again, if you don't mind. There was one. The another thing is, જૂના જમાનામાં પહેલા વર્ષો પહેલા જે રીતે તમે explain કર્યું કે આપણે જ્યારે માસ્ટર કાર્ડ વિસા કાર્ડ આવ્યો, we were getting it physically card in our hands to do the transaction. We were able to see it, touch it, feel it. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin ma kai apre hath ma nathi. People like of our age, it's difficult to imagine. Aje news ma hatu 2-4 દિવસ પહેલા કે તમે Tesla car લેવા જાઓ, you can do the transaction through Bitcoin. How is taking between two parties to take a trust on each other without feeling and touching the Bitcoin?
So પહેલો question તમારો એ હતો કે cryptocurrency and Bitcoin no difference. So cryptocurrency is a generic term. Bitcoin is a type of a cryptocurrency. Other cryptocurrencies are Ethereum, Dogecoin, Reveal. There are a bunch of them. But generic term for digital currency is cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency is the application and underlying technology is blockchain. So you will hear a blockchain technology that can be applied to a lot of things. It can be applied to contracts and stock market and everything else. One of the application is currency, and those currencies are called cryptocurrencies. પહેલા જે મેં કીધું તેમ everybody who owns a Bitcoin has a private key. So you have a private key if you own it, and Tesla has a private key if they own it. Now, from your private key, you give a permission to transfer appropriate amount of Bitcoin so that you can buy the car. Once you transfer, it goes to Tesla. As soon as that get transferred, all this computer network, which is decentralized, they are trying to code that transaction for a public information. So it will say, put under your private key, say you have 5 Bitcoin. Of that, you transfer 2 to Tesla. It will get transaction get encoded, and it's created a block, and that block is attached to the chain. Now everybody in the world knows that from your private key, money got transferred to another private key, and that private key, it's Tesla. So there is no confusion, and if there is no transaction in the block and blockchain, then your transaction didn't happen. So you don't need anybody. It will be 100% secure transaction.
But at the same time, Nainesh Bhai, if I want to resell the car again, and can I sell it for with a Bitcoin or with a dollar?
So car you can sell with dollar. Car is car. That's your. So if Tesla is selling you a car on a Bitcoin, you own the car, and you can sell it to whoever. You can sell it for dollar. You can sell it for rupees. But if somebody wants to buy a car and then give you a Bitcoin, and you are willing to buy sell the car for Bitcoin, then they can do it. So now your private key, Tesla's private key, and the third person's private key, they are different. Now he's going to transfer Bitcoin from his private key to your private key. You follow me?
Yeah.
So because the private key and public keys are so long that every person, every transaction can have a unique private key. And
one last question, Nainesh Bhai. If I have a Bitcoin, I can sell it and get a dollar amount?
Today, yes.
Okay.
But you have to be careful. This is the but part. US government hasn't stopped that type of transaction. Some other governments might have. I think China was thinking about it. So if government decides that you cannot transact from dollar into Bitcoin and Bitcoin to dollar, then everything stops.
Oh, okay.
So that is the biggest challenge for Bitcoin, is if large country like US decides not to allow Bitcoin transaction between dollar and Bitcoin. That would be the biggest problem.
Unmute karjo.
Hello.
ડોક્ટર સાહેબ
જી
mute કરો.
નૈનેશભાઈ
હા,
મારે ધારો કે એથેરિયમ કે ડોગી કોઈન લેવો હોય તો એ કંપનીઓની ટ્રસ્ટ વર્ધી કઈ રીતે ડિસાઈડ કરી શકું?
So I just want to make sure the question is clear. You want to trustworthiness કોની? So there's a Bitcoin.
એથેરિયમ છે અને ડોગી કોઈન છે.
So Ethereum is not a company, right? Bitcoin is not a company, and Dogecoin is not a company. The company that you deal with to buy and sell Bitcoin are exchanges. So Coinbase is an exchange. That's any trustworthiness हमारे find out करवी पड़े.
તો એ કેવી રીતે કરવાની?
Generally, what I do is I try and look for company કેટલી મોટી છે, ક્યાં બેઝ થયેલી છે, અને કેટલા વખતથી એક્ઝિસ્ટન્સમાં છે. તો that will give you some ideas. Company established હોય, large હોય, અને US based હોય, US કે કોઈ regular country, meaning you don't want something out of China or North Korean, of course not North Korea, but some Middle Eastern company, something that you can't trust. You want a trusted country, a large company, and with established history. And so Coinbase, for example, I keep going back to Coinbase. Coinbase is the easiest to talk about. It's been around 10 years. It's been in the US based, and it's in public market. They probably have 1,000 people plus working for them. And I invested in Bitcoin back in 2014 or so through Coinbase at that time. So I look at companies from that perspective. કેટલી history છે, કેટલી established.
જે ઇન્વેસ્ટમેન્ટ છે એ બી ઇઝ વન ઓફ ધ રીઝન કરી શકાય. હવે આ એથેરિયમમાં છે, it is more than 35 billion કે એવું કંઈ જોયું. તમે જે ચાર્ટ બતાવ્યો,
oh 300 billion.
Oh my god, that's okay. So that can be one of the
reason what?
For trustworthy કે ભાઈ આટલા લોકો
okay. So first of all, be careful when you say this is an investment. Gold is an investment, right? આપણે બધા ગણીએ છીએ gold investment. The reason we think gold is an investment is because it's been around for 4,000 years, as I mentioned in my presentation. Gold has no value. If તમે માર્સ પર જતા રહો અને માર્સ પર સિવિલાઇઝેશન હોય અને તમે ગોલ્ડ લઈને જાઓ ને કહો કે મને આ ગોલ્ડના પૈસા આપો, માર્સ પર તમને કોઈ નહીં આપે, કારણ કે they don't know gold. So same way, Bitcoin has no value. You believe there is a value. I believe there is a value. That's why there is a value. But it can go away. So don't think of it as an investment just yet. It's doing very well, but doesn't mean that it's going to continue doing well, or doesn't mean that it's going to stop doing well. You just have to judge, okay, how much money do you want to put into that, and hopefully it will grow. The reason it can grow is more and more people believe, and more people put money into it. And as I mentioned earlier, કે ભાઈ લિમિટ છે 21 મિલિયન જ બિટકોઇન છે. હવે માની લો 21 મિલિયન બિટકોઇન છે, રાઈટ? અને 21 મિલિયન લોકો ઇન્ટરેસ્ટેડ છે. ઓકે, હવે સડનલી 210 મિલિયન લોકો ઇન્ટરેસ્ટેડ થઈ ગયા તો ભાવ વધવાના જ છે ઓટોમેટિકલી, રાઈટ?
Thank you.
So
thank you very much.
Sure.
Nainesh bhai, thank you very, very much. With very primitive knowledge. My question is also very primitive, and that is, if I buy Bitcoin, I would have a private key. Then I go to buy Tesla, and Tesla's private key will communicate with my private key and say, okay, I need your 2 Bitcoins. And that means the transaction occurred between 2 private keys.
If I confused you, it's a public key. So there's a public key.
Yeah.
You have a public key. Tesla has a public key. World would see only those keys. The world doesn't see private key. So if I want to see, I can see your public key, but I don't know it's owned by you, but I see it. I can see in the transaction. You can type that public key and you can see what happened. But I don't have your private key, so I cannot do anything with it.
Okay.
Same way, Tesla has a public key and you have public key. So if I know Tesla's public key, then I know that they got 2 Bitcoin from XYZ public key into Tesla. If I know your public key and I know Tesla's, then I know that you did a transaction, but I don't need to know that. As long as they got money and you got Tesla, you're done. Private key is your private key. You don't give it to anybody. That's only used to make the transaction.
Okay, that answers. I was wondering if I give away my private key.
No. Private key stays with you. Now, because digital wallet keeps the private key, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
But બધા જે ટેકનોલોજીમાં પહેલા જે લોકો અને બધા એડવાન્સ નોલેજ હોય, they don't want to keep any money, any Bitcoin in the exchange. They print out their private key. Then exchange doesn't have a control. It's like your cash. You take your private key, you put it in your tijori, and then you take it out when you need it. But if you lose it, it's gone.
Nainesh bhai, Virendra, question is, when we say a private key, what does it look like? Does it have a name, number, or what? how do
Yeah,
you,
I will show you. Give me 1 second. I should have taken it out. Give me 1 second and I'll show it to you.
Everybody will take a copy of it.
what is a private key? Is it a XYZ? Virendra
It's
is a
digital.
name. What is it?
आज नंबर लगता नहीं है कोई.
That's what I was going to say. Everybody is taking a picture.
This is what the private key looks like. It's like a physical paper.
Physical.
Oh, I see.
You can have that, or you can have this. SIM card type of thing, you know, like a USB drive. You can have whatever. So, but there are these are the ways. So as I showed you, there's a barcode, right? And there's a big numbers. I don't know if you see those numbers.
Yes.
Those are the. I'm doing it quick because I don't want to give it to anybody. But those are. I think it's 128 character. You will never guess it.
You will never.
Yeah.
So
it's like numbers and letters and uppercase and lowercase but that's the key.
So when you do a transaction, how does this barcode work? You show it on a.
So generally, you want to have a digital wallet, and digital wallet holds your information. And those digital wallets, if you have a standard good wallet that you are connected with, then they keep it and you can transact, and you don't have to think about private key.
It's just saved away in the off.
Yeah, so it is like a credit card. You put it in the machine, the other party reads it.
That's it.
Oh, I see. Okay. And another question was, you can exchange one cryptocurrency with the other one?
Sure. It's similar to like how you exchange dollar into rupees.
Right.
Cost, right?
Yeah.
Everything has a cost, and
Right.
you want to find the least expensive. The reason there is a cost, there's a real reason, and then there is a money-making reason. The real reason is because this key has to be, the transaction has to be registered. Somebody has to register it. So all these computer system in the world, they're trying to register the transaction. Whoever registers first, they get the money, they get the Bitcoin to facilitate the ledger. And so there is a cost for that. But these are all private companies. They want to make money, so they charge a little bit more.
ડોક્ટર હસીનભાઈ ક્યારના ટ્રાય કરી રહ્યા છે અનમ્યુટ કરવા પણ મેં એની હારે વાત કરી તો મને કહે કે he is trying his best and નિરંજનભાઈ કહે કે something has to be done at હસીનભાઈ's level. So I don't know how
Right,
હસીનભાઈ તમારા ડિવાઇસ ઉપર જે માઇક નું સિમ્બોલ છે ને, માઇક ના સિમ્બોલ ઉપર ક્લિક કરો. એકવાર તમારું થયેલું પણ પછી પાછું તમે ફરીથી અનમ્યુટ કરી કાઢ્યું.
આઈપેડ છે ને એટલે
અથવા તો લખીને તમારો ક્વેશ્ચન બતાવો. એ કાગળ ઉપર ક્વેશ્ચન લખીને બતાવો.
ચેટમાં મૂકી દો, ચેટમાં.
ત્યાં સુધી બીજાને લે.
માથેથી લખી દો તો પણ ચાલશે ને, હું વાંચી લઈશ.
હા, એ કાગળમાં લખી લો ને ક્વેશ્ચન, અને પછી એ કાગળ કેમેરા સામે રાખો.
In the meantime બીજા કોઈના સવાલ છે કે?
કાં તો પછી મુકુંદભાઈને ફોન કરીને કહી દો તમારો ક્વેશ્ચન.
યસ,
મુકુંદભાઈ will ask Nainesh.
બીજા કોઈને ક્વેશ્ચન છે કે અત્યારે?
હા, બીજું કોઈ દેખાતું
મુકેશ
નથી.
કાપડિયા from Canada.
એક મિનિટ, હમણાં પહેલા મેં જોયું ત્યારે કોઈ હતું નહીં. આ એક જ મિનિટ.
બોલો. એક મિનિટ, હું
હેલો,
મારો કેમેરો છે ને, હું
Nainesh bhai, thank you for the information.
Sure.
મારો ક્વેશ્ચન એ હતો કે હવે જો ઘણી કંપનીઓના computers they get hacked. So similarly, is there a risk of these companies who are doing this transaction, or even your Bitcoin number, whatever private key number, it can be hacked and can be misused?
This is a really good question, Mukesh bhai. I'm glad you asked. Absolutely. So that's why that's why you first of all want to deal with only a established company, because hopefully they have a lot more security. And in past, multiple times, exchanges have gotten hacked. And multiple times people have lost money. In fact, one of the transactions that I did, it got hacked, but luckily, luckily, Ethereum network decided that they're going to stop and make good on those hacked Ethereum. But that's not normal. So if you get hacked, you lose your money. So that's why it's critical કે તમે કંપનીને જે એક્શન સાથે ડીલ કરો એ પ્રોપર હોય અને તમે બરોબર નોલેજ સાથે કરો અને એસ્ટાબ્લિશ કંપની સાથે કરો. એટલે and that's why you might end up paying a little bit more in terms of cost of doing transaction, but it might be worth it.
So another question is just follow up to that. Is there any insurance to cover this kind of risk? No, I don't.
Again, good question. I don't think कि personally તમે insurance લઈ શકો. Only જે large company deal કરતા હશે એ લોકો insurance લેતા હશે. But still, you know, why do you want to go through hassle? That's always, see, the security is always a problem with the computer system. કેટલી બધી કંપનીઓ hack થાય છે, કેટલી બેંકો hack થાય છે. Half of the things, 90% of the things we don't even hear. નાની બેંકો તો કેટલી બધી hack થઈ ગઈ, they just don't tell you.
Hello.
I think Sarojben નો હાથ ઊંચો છે.
સરસબેન બોલો તમે.
અમીનભાઈ નો છે.
સરસબેન તમે બોલો પહેલા.
Nainesh bhai, very informative and excellent, excellent lecture. Wanted to ask you one thing. Every Tom, Dick and Harry is coming out with some kind of coin. There are so many. And how do you decide? I guess we know of big ones, the Litecoin and Ethereum, etc. But, and how do you, if you bought like, bottom of the line coin and that would not work or you cannot transact, then what's the value of it?
So you have to know why you want to buy a cryptocurrency. Right now, there is only one reason to buy cryptocurrency, that is going to go up in the value.
Yes.
Long term, and this is true for almost every technology, long term, only few will be left alive.
Exactly.
So you want to buy the currency which has the most established concept. Bitcoin has a really, really established idea, right? That's why it's first of all, it was the first one, and it has been the largest in terms of size. So if you don't know much and you're not technologically interested or savvy, then I would go with the top 2 or 3 large ones. Like this doggy coin, I don't know if you know Doji coin or whatever they call it. Doji coin it's doesn't have anything, no backing, nothing. There's no concept. It was a spoof, and now suddenly the spoof has become real. So will it be around next year? I don't know. Most likely it will just vanish, and that's why you want to be very careful. You don't want to invest too much money, or I shouldn't be using word invest. You shouldn't put too much money into cryptocurrency because it's risky.
Yeah, but even small companies like CBS can have their own Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, So how do you?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't answer that question. Anybody can create a cryptocurrency because it's just a program, right?
Yes.
The currency which is most decentralized, most people, the blockchain is well established. That's what you want to look into, and so the history matters. Number of people involved matters. The size of the number of transaction matters. Those are all the type of things that you want to look. Yeah.
So
Ajit,
right
even
now-
today, the only reason people have, there are two reasons people have Bitcoin today. One, people who has a black money who wants to hide their money, right? And other people who wants to try and get on the bandwagon and hope to make money out of it. Those are the two type of people. You're not buying Bitcoin to have a transaction. You're not buying Bitcoin to buy Tesla. You are buying just for those two reasons. Slowly, hopefully, it becomes a reality and people start using as a transaction. That's when it becomes worthwhile. There are other type of currency that is backed by dollar, right? And those are great. For every coin, there's a dollar sitting in the bank. So it's well established, but then there is no value going up. You're using that for something else. I mean, if you want to transfer money from, say, one country to another, there's significant cost. If it is a smaller amount, there's a significant cost, like 2%, 3%, 4%. With digital currency, there's no cost in reality. So those are the reasons you want to use it. But Bitcoin or they don't have that backing.
So before you transfer the money, you should know the other country is accepting that type of currency or not. Maybe it is a Bitcoin. Bitcoin is universal, but Ethereum or Litecoin or Doggy.
Yeah, I would just stay with top 3, 4, and that's it. Not look at anything else. Too much work, and not enough information.
And
look, you can make more money with others, but
yes.
I'm not saying that this is a good idea.
So which are those top 3 or 4 that you are? Of course. Bitcoin,
okay, so let me put the
Ethereum.
chart again.
Yeah.
Can you see this? Okay. So Bitcoin છે, Ethereum છે, અને Binance coin છે, BNB એનો ticker BNB છે, અને XRP પણ XRP તો છે ને it's backed by dollar, so it doesn't shouldn't move up and down that much. અને Tether છે. So I would just look into Bitcoin and Ethereum, not bother with anything else. Bitcoin માં 1 trillion ની value છે, total value, અને Ethereum માં 300 million. Rest of the currency doesn't mean much.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
હવે જે આ સવાલ ડોક્ટર હસીતભાઈ પૂછી રહ્યા છે એ જરા હું વાંચી સંભળાવું છું એટલે પછી ખ્યાલ આવશે. નૈનેશભાઈ, ડોક્ટર હસીતભાઈનો ક્વેશ્ચન આ છે, how will Bitcoin affect different national currency and current banking structure as it becomes a mode of business?
That's a really, really good question. I think digital currency is a good concept. It reduces the friction. When I say friction, meaning the cost of doing business. So every time you use a credit card, there's a charge, there's a cost, right? Bank makes money on you. Other parties make money on you. There's a 2-3% cost involved. With digital currency, that cost can go away. Digital currency using the blockchain concept. But there's a downside to it. The downside is country loses its control on the economy. So the reason US is so powerful is because dollar is used in a lot of places. Dollar is used in a lot of world transaction, and they can borrow in their own currency. If US can't borrow in dollar, we will have such a big problem, right? Because now we are dependent on other currencies. No country wants to lose control on their economy and then their currency. So I don't think that countries will allow free floating digital currency, which is not under their control. China is experimenting with their own currency, digital currency. US probably is experimenting with their own digital currency, and so might be other countries. And then everybody will have their own digital currency, and they will try and make some kind of a centralized system where they can transfer from one to another. It is a good concept, though. It's a really, really good concept, but the friction of doing a transaction goes away. I don't think it's going to become unless something changes drastically, I don't think it becomes the standard of doing business.
Yes, Amin bhai.
Hello.
બોલો તમે. તમારો સવાલ પૂછો.
Hello. Where does the final responsibility lie on the total number of Bitcoins? The final responsibility.
Thank you, Amin bhai. I'm sorry કે તમને બહુ
No problem.
વાર લાગી તમારા તરફ તમારા question લેતા. It's in particularly in Bitcoin, it's predefined. It's in the definition of how Bitcoin was created. So unless the organization that runs Bitcoin, and I don't think it's possible, but if they decide to create something else and change it, but by definition, Bitcoin is limited for quantity. But that's not true for all cryptocurrency. For example, Dogecoin that people talk about has no limit. They can create as many as they want. So it's surprising that the value is going up, but it has no limit. And the limit idea makes sense, because what happens is now, see, US પોતે જેટલા પણ print કરવા એટલા કરી શકે, right? And you can print as many dollars as you want, but if you have a limit, then you don't have to worry about inflationary changes and all that. So if Bitcoin becomes the, say, world currency,
it becomes more valuable.
It can be amazing, but as I mentioned earlier, country loses the control, but it can be great for most of the.
Where does the final control lie in Bitcoin? Just no.
It's decentralized, okay. No control. That's the beauty.
I got.
There is no single entity who can decide what happens. That is the beauty of Bitcoin.
Okay, Govind bhai.
So the question is how if you make money on a Bitcoin, like buy and sell, and how the IRS reporting is done on that for the tax purpose.
So there is now I'm not a tax expert, so don't take my final word on it, but IRS wants you to report profit on commodities. So if you buy gold ETF, you have to, there's a different tax code that applies. Same thing applies to Bitcoin. So if you make money on Bitcoin, you need to report it. But ask accountant. There's a tax consequences for sure. You just have to. You can hide it, but it might come and bite you back.
No, I mean the institute does not report directly to IRS that this much money is made by this individual. How?
I think they might have started doing it. I haven't seen.
Yeah, it started
from Coinbase.
It started.
Sorry. Yes, Vijay Bhai,
this year they are asking question whether you own the Bitcoin last year or not.
Right.
So you have to say you report it.
Another question I have: this coin which is listed in that. So investing in coin, of course, that's an exchange platform. So is it different? What is the difference between investing in coin or compared to Bitcoin?
That's a good question too. Okay, so let me explain. New York Stock Exchange is a public company, right? You can buy New York Stock Exchange stocks. Within New York Stock Exchange, they trade everything. They trade Apple and Google and Amazon and GM and everything else. So now, if I ask you, what is the difference between investing in New York Stock Exchange or companies that trade on New York Stock Exchange? What would you say? It's quite different. It all depends on one thing that's happening is there's a lot of transaction that happens and on Coinbase, so they benefit, they make more money. So it's a good company to invest. But if Bitcoin goes up from 50,000 to 100,000, will Coinbase go up from 300 to 600? I don't know. That's a different question. It's connected, but it's not correlated one-to-one.
Nainesh bhai, when you buy the Bitcoin, it automatically goes in the wallet, or you have to create the wallet?
No, you have to create a wallet.
So how do we create the wallet?
Most of these companies have their own wallet.
So I own the Bitcoin. When
you can create a wallet and transfer your Bitcoin into a wallet, digital wallet.
So I had to request the company Coinbase, or
if you go to Coinbase, there is a Coinbase application on the phone, and there is a Coinbase wallet application. Check it out.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have to transfer that coin to Coinbase wallet.
Yeah, like my interest in cryptocurrency goes back a long time, but my interest was different. My interest was to understand what is the technology, how it works, how it changes. So I don't do a lot of transaction. So mine is just sitting in Coinbase, and I have wallets, but I don't do anything with it.
So mine is also sitting in a Coinbase. I have not created wallet. Will it be okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Second thing, see, all this cryptocurrency, there is no hard asset to back it up.
No.
And
Most
no
of them
country,
some do.
Is backing up.
Sorry.
No country is backing up.
Mm-mm.
So that means anything can happen, or it may, wipe out, or gone into thin air.
What is a country? Country is Tesla and Amazon and banks and all that put together. If they are buying.
So, question, sorry. If enough people believe that this is a real thing, then it becomes a real thing. That is the concept.
Stop, please.
If people stop believing, then there is nothing. It's a thin air. But right now, I had seen the numbers. 15 million people in US transact in cryptocurrency. That's just in US. That's a lot of people. And if I have to guess, worldwide, maybe 50, maybe 80, 100 million people transact in cryptocurrency. That's a lot of people. So there is a lot of money put in cryptocurrency, and there are a lot of people who believe it's real. So unless some regulation comes in and stops everything, I think it's going to stick around.
I think India is not allowing Bitcoin, any cryptocurrency, right? It's banned.
I think so.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Jatani,
Virendra here. If I give any analogy, it's like in a country, you have all the states who are in, because this currency is decentralized. And like if you take an analogy, all the states are independent, they can do whatever they want to do, and there is no federal government. So then there is likelihood of creating a confusion and chaos, isn't it? It's same thing happen in the family. You can do what you want to do. Your brother does whatever, the father says what, and the family then disrupts and falls apart.
But then the flip side is then they can, you have a dictatorship on the extreme. The one person can decide everything. But so that's one is a complete decentralized and complete controlled. And
right.
You have to have a balance somewhere.
Yeah. So that means that like a socialist needs some sort of a control.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Nainesh. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Nalini Ben. Thank you for asking questions.
બીજા કોઈ ક્વેશ્ચન ના હોય તો પછી હવે આપણે સમાપ્તિ કરીએ. નૈનેશ ભાઈ, તમારું આ લેક્ચર છે એક્સ્ટ્રા ઓર્ડિનરીલી very informative. અને
I thought I wouldn't. It wouldn't last for half an hour.
I know. As we discussed, you said what after half an hour, but then I said let's see. But અત્યારે 1.5 કલાક બી ઓછો પડે છે. મને ખ્યાલ છે કે જ્યારે થોડા વખત પહેલા તમે કઈ લેક્ચર ઇન્ડિયા હોમમાં કવિતાબેન જે અરેન્જ કરે છે એ કરતા હતા. મારી wife was listening and just coincidentally I happened to pass by that conversation for a second and I heard about Bitcoin. You are giving a lecture, so I thought why not we arrange a lecture, and that was the starting point. And
No, thank you,
today
Mukund bhai. I'm so glad I was able to share some of the knowledge I have. You know, it's not complete, but it gives you some idea of where you should think and look.
No, it's a really interesting. અને અત્યારના તમે જોશો તો more than 200 Zoom entry છે અને ઘણા લોકો કપલમાં બેઠા છે તો લગભગ 350 થી 400 માણસો તમને સાંભળી.
Yeah, and anytime you have a specific question, reach out to me.
Vijay
has my contact
સવાલ
information.
છે, એક મિનિટ.
How can you mine? How can you mine the Bitcoin? How can you mine the Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency?
So you need the computing power. You need advanced computer. Then you try and solve the algorithm that I mentioned. That's it. So, but one computer is not enough. You need a whole computer farm, the whole server farm, thousands of computers. You need a lot of computing power to solve these algorithms. And to be frank, it's beyond me in terms of what happens and how it gets solved.
બીજો નૈનેશભાઈ, તમે બાર્ટર સિસ્ટમ થી શરૂઆત કરી. ગુડ ઓલ્ડ ડેઝ આપણે જયારે ઇન્ડિયામાં 50 વર્ષ 60 વર્ષ પહેલા હતા, અત્યારે બી હશે ખબર નથી કે વાસણવાળી વાસણ લઈને આવે, સ્ટીલના વાસણ, કાચના વાસણ લઈને આવે અને તમે તમારા જૂના કપડા આપો. બાર્ટર સિસ્ટમ. પછી તમે કહો કે આટલા કપડા છે તો કે સ્ટીલનો વાટકો આપશો, તો પહેલા કે આટલામાં ખાલી વાટકો જ, તપેલી આપો તપેલી, તો કે થોડા
ભૂલી જ ગયો, but yeah, I remember that now.
કપડા નાખો. એવી રીતે બાર્ટર સિસ્ટમ હતી અને અત્યારે કેટલો બધો ચેન્જ થઈ ગયો છે. અને આમાં જેમ નૈનેશભાઈ કહ્યું કે ખરેખર રિસ્ક તો છે જ તે, અને એના જે પ્રોફાઇલમાં he has written a very big principle. He has mentioned that if you manage for returns, you increase the risk, but if you manage your risk, you increase your returns. Very true for Bitcoin also. અને કહ્યું કે જે આ લોકો બ્લેક મની અને હાઇડ મની કરે એના માટે બરાબર છે, પણ રેગ્યુલર ડે ટુ ડે ઇન્વેસ્ટર માટે ઇટ્સ અ રિયલી રિસ્કી તો છે તે, ડેફિનેટલી ઘણું રિસ્કી છે.
પણ સી શું થાય, દરરોજ ન્યૂઝમાં આવતું હોય, દરરોજ આપણા ફ્રેન્ડો વાત કરતા હોય ને કોઈને 1000 ના 10,000 થઈ ગયા હોય તો આપણને લાગે આપણે રહી ગયા. એટલે થોડું રિસ્ક લેવાનું, એટલીસ્ટ યુ આર નોટ મિસિંગ આઉટ, એન્ડ ધેન ઇફ યુ લૂઝ, યુ લૂઝ.
ઓવર 60 પછી તો ભગવાનનું નામ લેવાનું.
નિરાતની ઊંઘ જોઈ હોય.
હા સરોજબેન,
નિરાતની ઊંઘ જોઈ હોય. ઓકે, બોલો સરોજબેન, બોલો સરોજબેન, બોલો.
ના, એક બિલકુલ સ્ટુપિડ ક્વેશ્ચન, but none question is stupid unless it's asked. So what I'm saying, you are saying that 15 million people now in the United States is transacting in Bitcoin. So what are these transactions? They are just buying and selling the Bitcoin on an exchange, or there is an actual the material transaction like buying Tesla or buying XYZ?
No.
This is
buying
just
and selling. Buying and selling.
Buying,
I doubt material transaction is even
exactly
0.1% of the total transaction.
So
there is no material transaction happening.
It's just the transacting the Bitcoin on an exchange from Bitcoin to dollar value.
Yeah, or some another currency, another cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Okay.
See, શું થયું, આ તો આપણો ટાઈમ પાસ થઈ ગયો છે, પણ because everybody's home because of COVID, now they can do transact, and it's easy to transact. It's on the phone, so it becomes easy. There are a lot of people doing it.
નૈનેશભાઈ, તમને કોઈને ક્વેશ્ચન હોય તો તમારો ઈમેલ કે સેલ ફોન કે શું આપો રિપોર્ટમાં?
You can give email. That's easier. Then I can respond at the proper time.
Okay, fine.
અને લાઇટર નોટ મુકુંદભાઈ, આપણે ઇન્ડો અમેરિકન નો ડોનેશન ક્રિપ્ટોકરન્સીમાં એક્સેપ્ટ કરવાનો વિચાર કરી શકીએ.
ફી પણ એમાં ચાર્જ કરવાની.
Yeah, long way.
That is true. Thank you, everybody. So nice of you to listen to me and appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Nainesh. Appreciate.
ઓકે, હવે આપણે બીજા કાર્યક્રમ તરફ આગળ વધીએ.
બીજી કોઈ વખતે કોઈ ઇન્વેસ્ટમેન્ટના સબ્જેક્ટ માટે બી તમને ઇન્વાઇટ કરશું.
No, I would love to do it. I have a lot of experience, and I don't fall onto the current changes. So I can give you the core of what means to to be investing in stock or bonds or something else. So definitely we'll
Yeah,
have to do it.
one of the days we'll keep it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.